evening, Book War folks. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my tripod here set up for our BiblioTalk this evening. So happy for anyone who chooses to join us either now or later. Just waiting for Miss Hattie to show up. And I had to move all my stuff, and now it all is just a little off, but that's all right. I'm also a little tan for me, and so everything looks funny, but that is okay. Here we go. We will see if Hattie joins us. Hopefully everybody's summer has been going really, really well. You've been reading some great books. With me being on sabbatical, I have actually been able to read some. My sabbatical, everyone. Last week. This is my last week. So Hattie is here, hopefully joining. I said yes. She is. I said yes.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I could not get my phone to connect to the internet in my house from my room. So now I'm like sitting in the dark. Let me see if I can turn some more lights on.
Okay. Mostly because Hattie has a new haircut, which we all do need to like acknowledge and comment on. For anyone who would like to.
It's not any better. Maybe if I sit on the other side of the room, I don't know. Let's try this side.
Like you want to face where the lights are gonna hit you.
Like in the kitchen, there's lots of lights, but they're like all over the place. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I think that's gonna be better though.
Okay, well, this may just be as good as it's going to get today, everybody. Sorry.
Well, you're not as shadowy.
Okay.
So that's good.
I don't know, like I'm in my office, my computer's connected to the internet. It doesn't seem to be an issue for that, but like my phone is just, I'm like literally telling it to connect and it's like, whatever, la la la.
Oh, we don't want to think.
Yeah. So anyway, it's getting lighter. The lights have been off. So now that it's the lights are warming up, it's getting a little brighter. So.
And your hair is adorable.
Thank you. Yes. I'm growing up my grays for all of our fans out there. I don't know how well you can see them here, but
pretty. Yeah.
They're
I am not.
They're
to be clear.
What's that?
I am not.
But yours look so good though, like the way they are, but
I know. I do have to say I was very inspired, and this is actually a segue into my first book that I'm gonna talk about. Yeah. But when you had posted about that, and you had a wonderful woman who wrote a very nice thing, which was like, strong women go natural. And it was very kind. And your response though was, and I think it was like, strong women do whatever the fuck they want. Excuse my language. I don't think you said that,
I
but
didn't actually have the F word, but yeah.
And I was like, yes, which is what I'm going to now just segue into, because this is, I actually haven't talked to Hattie about this. So this is our BiblioTalk. We're talking about books. You know the drill. We're moving on.
Yeah.
But we have been chatting a little bit about the Barbie movie, which neither one of us had any like real inkling, desire. It was not something that like caught us. We certainly had Barbies growing up, but like,
of course, yeah.
I mean, and I knew it was coming out. I was like, okay,
whatever,
whatever. It wasn't a thing. So anyway, I ended up going on a date with my partner, and I ended up wearing that night a hot pink jumpsuit,
which is amazing for all of our viewers. You need to know it's amazing.
To be clear, I looked amazing.
Yes.
That's not up for debate. But ended up going, we had gotten tickets to the Minnesota Orchestra Hall. They do live music scores to blockbuster movies, and they were doing Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And Michelle Yeoh is having a moment, and I am here for it.
It's amazing.
And that music, that score is just, and it enhanced the movie experience. The movie sort of holds up. There are some tropes in the young love story that I had forgotten about, and I remember afterwards when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, I remember loving this movie so much because of that love story, and now I love this movie 20 years later because of Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun-Fat.
Exactly.
Anyway,
your perspective has changed.
Yeah, perspective, all that, all changed. Anyway, But because I was wearing this hot pink jumpsuit that night, we got asked like 4 times if we were going to the Barbie movie. And I felt really bad the first time. I was at my bookstore at Content picking up books, because why not? Anyway, and I was wearing this, and she asked me, and they know me by name now. And I was like, I must have given her a face like, what the?
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, I was like,
yeah.
Like, what kind of question is that? And she was like, your outfit. And I was like, oh, yes, excellent point. No, we're going to a movie, but not that one.
Yeah.
Well, so by the 4th time, my husband and I were like, you know what? Do we? Should we? Our kids are, should we go to the movie? Do we want to see the movie? I don't really know if I care, but I'll go see it, I guess. Sure. I'm in a hot pink jumpsuit. Let's go to the movie at 10:15 at night. For a bunch of 40-year-olds, it's really late. So we did. And it was a thoroughly enjoyable movie. But, of course, me being me and following the people I follow and listening to the people I listen to, there has been some critique about particularly the white feminism of the Barbie movie. And so I decided, because I was like thinking about this, and I was like, listening to some people and like reading some stuff, because that's what I do. So I decided I needed to pick up, and this is a book I've had on my shelf for about a year, called Against White Feminism by Rafia Zakaria, and I'm only like 60 pages in, but it is so good. Yeah. So good. Notes on disruption. There's a reader's guide too. A group guide, so that's exciting. But it is wonderful, and I'm so enjoying it. And I think it is already helping me articulate some of that, like, white gaze-ness of white feminism. And as an upper middle class white feminist who is white in this particular case, and trying to break free of some of that history around white feminism and the continued subjugation of women of color to the benefit of white women who do benefit from white supremacy. Yeah. It's really interesting, really helpful. But I will tell you this: I picked it up late Friday night. Yeah. I could not sleep, and I am a sleeper. Like that is what I do.
That's your thing.
It is my superpower. That's what my boys say. My superpower is sleeping, and my obsession is books. I sleep, and I was awake so much that night because my brain was just like thinking through some of this stuff, and it was again 30 pages. So anyway, that is one of the things I'm currently reading right now, and it's really good. And it's really, I think, for people who do want to think through some of this stuff, and without it being like, it's not nice, like
it's like calling it out.
Yeah, Zachariah calls you out and calls whiteness out and white ladiness out and our niceness out. And I think for me in a really helpful way. I'm not sure everybody would find it helpful. I find it helpful because I need people to say the truth and like be clear about it. And like that isn't helpful. I don't, but I know that not everybody receives that the same way, but all I'm saying is like you do need to get this book. Yeah. I already have my friend Gretchen who's gonna get it after me after I read it, but like I think you would. Yeah.
That was like on my list, right? I mean, of course it is. It's on my list, but it's like I got a list like 1,800 miles long too, but that one makes it to the top though, since you're like you read it, and you're finding it really helpful. So that might just jump
and I'll be done by the end of the week for sure. Yeah. So I will let you know for sure. Yeah. But if I change my mind, but yeah, you might want your own copy on that. This is like it was sitting right next to Women, Race, and Class. Yeah. Angela Davis on my shelf, and I pulled this one, and I was like, oh, they're both gonna be so good. Yeah. So I might read that one next. Yeah. But Against White Feminism.
Very good. That's excellent.
I like her a lot. I just wanted to say that came out of the anti-racism book fest that we had attended when they were having it. They had it for a couple of years. They didn't have it this year. I don't know if they're going back to it or not, which is fine. But last year, 2022. And so it was really, really well done. So anyway, okay. What are you reading?
Okay, I'm not reading anything like that. Well, I'm still reading my feminist essay.
that was the other thing I wanted to tell you. I marked it because she talks about that essay, that Sultana's Dream, that you told me to read, that I needed to read in that book.
It's this one.
I know. So I need you to send me the name of that in a text so I don't forget. But I did. I marked it. So I'm like, this is the thing Hattie was talking about.
Yeah. I mean, this is just, it's phenomenal. And now the Against White Feminism, it just goes right alongside with this kind of reading. So yes, I will text that one to you. And you really do want to read it. And I will be getting that one too. So
just a picture even as well. You know how you forget it. So
that's really bad. I'm not reading anything other than that, which I am reading like every day. But the nonfiction that I'm reading right now, you are gonna like die over this. So I already told you about the first one, the Ghost Map. The Ghost Map.
Yeah.
I told you about that one, which is this great nonfiction about cholera in mid-19th century London.
Yeah, I think Lionel ended up getting it.
Yeah.
Because you told me to tell him to, and I think he did.
That's right. I told you, because I think Lionel would really, anyway, I hope he's liking it.
Yeah.
So I started with that one, right? So I'm in this like mid-19th century, like cholera kind of thing, like medical science, all this kind of thing. So this is all bopping around my head. And then I happened to pick up a nonfiction by Lydia Kang called The Impossible Girl. The title of it is Impossible Girl. It's on my Kindle. I got it on my Kindle. And it has to do with body snatching, resurrectionists, whatever you want to call them, in New York City in the late 19th century, right?
You were such a nerd.
And so they're talking, I know, I'm ridiculous. Anyway, so, but in this book, they're like talking about all these sort of same kinds of sciencey things with disease and so on and so forth, and what doctors are trying to do and how they're like getting through it and all this stuff. Okay, so this is totally in line with the Ghost Map, right? And it's just like in a different, it's in America rather than and it's nonfiction. It's a nonfiction story. So then, in that book, they bring up, you are dying over this, Hannah. You're just like, not even gonna believe this. So in that book, in The Impossible Girl, they bring up Dr. Mutter, which I'm familiar with. I know no one in the world is familiar with Dr. Mutter unless you're from Philadelphia. We have a Mutter museum. I haven't been to it, but my friend went to it, and she was sort of horrified by it. And I'm kind of like, this sounds amazing. I know you're gonna laugh because he was a doctor in Philadelphia in the mid to late 19th century, late 1800s, and this is basically
doing creepy things.
Yeah, and he was collecting creepy, weird things in jars, right?
Oh,
so
no wonder your friend thought it was gross, because it's gross, but also up your alley.
It's totally gross, right? So then. Okay, this is ridiculous. I know this is ridiculous. So, but in that book, The Impossible Girl, they mentioned Dr. Mutter.
Yes.
And I remembered seeing and like adding at some point years ago a book with like this Mutter's name in it. So I go and look it up. It's called Dr. Mutter's Marvels by Christian O'Keefe Optowitz. And it's a nonfiction about Dr. Mutter in Philadelphia and his life and how he collected all of this stuff. So now I'm listening to that on Audible now. I know. I have a problem. I know.
We both do. We both have problems.
They're just snowballed like out of control for me.
Like and like it is a little early for like the gothic theme stuff that you were going. You were like already
on that train right now. Like I am. On the train.
If you drank pumpkin spice, which you don't, but if you did, I would say you. I feel like you have the aura of pumpkin spice, but like death.
Yeah. It's so bad. It's so bad.
I don't even know what that means, but it works.
But it actually was funny because it felt really true. And
you have that like obsessive thing, like that fall. I'm a pumpkin spice everything, but not that.
With the pumpkin
but dead things in jars.
It's so bad.
It doesn't work as well as a latte.
No.
Or a scent.
I know, but
or a T-shirt.
And people think those people are weird, but people would think I am like gone.
You're off the charts, but it's fine. I mean, we all got our things, and this just happens to be yours. So,
I know.
I mean, so weird.
It's so
It's
weird.
so weird. I love it so much.
I cannot disagree with that. It's completely off the wall, and this one just really snowballed out of control, like really fast.
I mean, it did.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
So, anyway, they're all really good, though. I do want to just say that
That's
the
really
first map
interesting.
was
Yeah.
so good. I recommended it to other people already. The Impossible Girl by Lydia Kang was actually quite good. It was funny because I knew she'd written another one. I can't remember what the other one was. It was pretty popular a few years ago, and I read it. And I went back and I looked, and I gave it 2 stars. And I couldn't remember it. Like, I read the synopsis, and I'm like, I have no recollection of reading this book. But I gave it 2 stars. I'm like, wow. But the second one that I read by her, I'm like, oh, no, this one was really interesting. So I don't know what happened there. I'm not sure what that was all about. But then this Dr. Mooter's Marbles, I just started it like a few days ago. So I'm just like a little ways into it. But yeah, anyway, I have a problem. It's true.
You do, but it's a delightful problem. Well, and it works for our page, so it's fine.
That's true. It does. It totally works. So what else are you reading that's good? Yeah.
Okay, so I can't remember if I had talked about this one on the last one, but my Audible right now is The Warmth of Other Suns.
Yes.
And
I think maybe you did mention it.
I think I did. And I'm almost done with it. I'm in the last section. I assume it's the last section, section 5. Anyway, I'm about 2 hours out.
Yeah, you're getting there.
From finishing it. So my fiction though that I just finished 2 days ago, which is shock of all shocks.
What is it?
YA fantasy.
I was gonna say it's gonna be fantasy, and of course it's YA. You've read that one before, haven't you?
I'm pretty sure it's YA. I don't really know. I can't tell anymore. To be perfectly honest, I really can't tell the difference between YA and regular fantasy anymore. So anyway, but this is called Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and actually our friend Amy had recommended it, and she doesn't recommend a lot of fiction books, so when she does, I pay attention. And this has been on my list and in my doom scrolling of books for a while now. And then the second in this duology came out. So I finally picked this one up, and it was very good. So it is set in the mythology of Asia.
Oh, okay.
So Su Lin Tan is born in Malaysia, it says, and her fantasy is inspired by the myths and legends that she fell in love with as a child.
That's awesome. And
so it was really really well done. This is what I want to say. When I'm in the middle of a fantasy book, like here, I'm usually to the point that's like, oh my God, nobody's life is this dramatic. This many things doesn't happen in a day.
Yeah.
But then I keep going. This happens all the time to me. And then by the last 2/3, I'm like, oh, I really love this. And then I take forever to finish because I don't want it to finish because then I have to start a new world again.
Yep.
So like the last 100 pages of a fantasy book take me forever to finish. Meaning it takes me 3 days to finish 100 pages, which is
right.
I read the rest of the first 300 pages in a day and a half. But yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
But it is really well done. The character building is really well done. The main character is how do I want to say it? She is coming of age, and she's thrown into this really traumatic experience as a young person, and then but it isn't and she clings to this promise, but it isn't this is gonna sound bad, but it's not a stupid promise.
Yeah.
You know how
there's some stupid plot promises along the way when you read as much of it as we do. Yeah.
Promises, with kids and fantasy. Anyway, but it's not, and so it's really well done, and I really enjoyed it, and I always enjoy learning about other mythologies and world building on top of those foundations that I'm just not as familiar with. So definitely recommend. I mean, it's just a duology, which I am all for duologies right now. I will do 2 books. Do not give me these 7-book series. I don't care. No. Just no. My commitment issues do not accept. No. But Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan, definite win.
It's a beautiful cover too, by the way. I just wanted to say that.
I know. And the next book is called Heart of the Sun Warrior. Found it.
Good job, Anna.
It's because it's based off of this book. But this is the other thing I did love about this. This book will read by itself.
Yeah.
It is a full beginning. It's not a cliffhanger. Yeah. Thank you. I do hate me a cliffhanger. Yeah. But it is a full encapsulated beginning, middle, and end to a story that then can be expanded in a second novel, but doesn't have to. Like, I do love
appreciate that.
That was why I was so mad about that Ordinary Monsters.
Oh, okay. I haven't read that one yet. It's on my.
You haven't read that one? Oh, I think I told you that though. Like, that's one of the things. I picked it up thinking it was a standalone, and not only is it not a standalone.
It's okay, Hannah. It's okay.
Don't like it.
We definitely have like our pet peeves. Like, really, like, honestly, we have our pet peeves. There's no doubt about that.
So speaking of this, yesterday went out and had a lovely day with some friends, and Gretchen, one of my friends, is a reader as well, and we were just talking about random books, and I just went on a rant about the Hunger Games, and it is like such a me thing, my issue with the Hunger. It is like not about the book, it's not about the writing. She takes an archetype and like goes sideways, but it made me so mad, and I cannot let it go. So
we have our things.
We have our things.
We do. We got our soapbox.
And I can acknowledge that is about me and not about art or the form, or it is no judgment on anybody else other than I don't like it.
You got to think.
When you take me down this path and then go sideways, it is unsatisfying.
I haven't read or seen The Hunger Games, so I cannot even comment on this.
You're fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
That's kind of what I figured. I don't think it's really my, like, genre. I'd probably just come away from it being like, what?
You have read some of the best post-apocalyptic work in the world. That is not, I mean, it's a perfectly legitimate, it's a perfectly good, entertaining set of books. Like, that's not it. But you have read what I would consider some of the best apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic literature. And you're like, nah. And, like, so no.
So,
no,
yeah,
Hattie, you shouldn't read it.
Yeah, like, no, I'm not going to read that. Okay, so back to what I am reading, though, to continue on my crazy person theme and goth theme. This is like my gothic lit time. Okay, so Hannah knows how much I love Laura Purcell because I'm obsessed with her book called The Companions, which we're reading for book club next month.
I had not put all of that together, but yes, I do know how much Hattie had enjoyed the Companions. The Companions. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I gave you all the information because I knew you wouldn't actually know until I told you, and then you would know.
And then I know,
So this is, I think, the third one of her books that I've read. I can't remember what the other one was called. I didn't love it. It was The Name of the Lady, but I can't remember the name of the lady.
It's probably in the front page of that book.
No, it's not, because this one says The Silent Companions, the writer. Because The Silent Companions, I think, is probably her most, like, her most famous, the one that is like really like catches people.
But usually they have other books by this author in the front couple pages.
I'll check. Yeah, maybe it does have it in the front. Silent Companions. This is all. Literally, they have praise for The Silent Companions on the first page. That's not this book, by the way. But no, I was just gonna see. Yeah, you are right about that. This one was so funny. I'll tell you the story. So I was trying to put it in my Goodreads the other day. And every time I put it in, it's called The Poison Thread. Okay? Yeah. So I try to put it in like 3 different ways. Like, you can take a picture of the cover and find it that way, or you can type it in and search for it. And every time I would take it and it would find it and I would add it to my I am reading, and it would pop up as I'm reading The Corset by Laura Purcell. I'm like, what is going on? I've never had this happen before. So I go on the computer and I try to do it on my computer because I was doing it on my phone and it wasn't working. So I was like, fine, I'll go try it on the computer. So I go on the computer and I do the same thing, and the same thing happens. But there's more information on the computer like printout. The original name of this book was The Corset.
Oh.
So that's why, like, when I was adding it, I don't know why they changed the name. I mean, now that I'm in the book, I know why it would have been called The Corset. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I don't know why they changed like the official name of the book in the later versions of it.
Who knows?
Rebranding. Yeah, rebranding maybe. I don't know. Either, and both titles make sense. You know, I'm like halfway into the book, and they both make sense, you know, at this point. And this one is pretty good. It's dark. Like the stories, it's two ladies who like one's in prison and one's like the lady coming to visit her in prison. And like late Victorian England.
Of course it is. When else would it be set, Hattie? You're reading it.
I know, exactly. Obviously, that's what it is. But like the story of the lady who's like in prison, she's very young. She's like 16 or 17, and she's in prison. And her story is like very dark and very like, it's dark, but it's also really sad, right? It's like, it's sad in the sense that like this happens to people.
I know.
And there's no like, you don't get that relief of like it's going to turn out okay because you know she's in jail.
Yeah.
Right?
You know that's not gonna happen.
And there's not gonna be a happy ending for her.
Right.
And everything is just gonna continue to get worse.
Yeah.
And the feeling that you get when you're reading that and you know it's not gonna get better for her, and that feeling that you know that this is true for so many people throughout history, living right now, just like that feeling, like it sits with you, you know, and like it affects you when you're reading it, right? It affects how you feel about it and the feeling that you get from the book. So anyway, if you're into that horrible feeling,
not even drinking.
No, this is water. I swear to God, it's water.
Oh my gosh, we're something tonight.
We're like going on the rest night, but this is really well written. It's really good. It's very good.
Really like her writing.
The writing's so good. I really think Laura Purcell is very good at like this kind of thing of giving a book a feel. Like when you're reading it, it makes you feel a particular way. Because I felt the same way when I read The Silent Companions.
It's awesome.
There's like
I'm excited about that
feel to it. So anyway, I'm like, enjoying is maybe not quite the right word because it's kind of like this really sort of sad story, but it's also super engrossing and absolutely like worth a read. And I wouldn't be surprised if I like read it again. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
A compelling slice of early Victorian Gothic. That's what it says on the front.
That sounds right up your alley.
Right up my alley. So yeah, I'm in the middle of that one. And then I'll just finish off with, Middlemarch. Everybody knows I've been reading Middlemarch. This is where we're at. This is
close.
This
so close. That's where I would still be at the beginning.
Yeah. I'm so close. I think I'm just over 100 pages left. Let me check. I'm at 671, and I think there's like 785.
So how are you liking it?
It's fine. I have to say, it's sort of funny though, because like I'd say the last 300 pages have been more intriguing than the first like 500 pages.
Wow.
Like it felt like the first 500 pages are just sort of like going along. Nothing particularly interesting was happening. It was just like people's lives, right? But these last 300 pages, like some stuff, some conflict and some stuff is happening. Finally.
Finally.
This is very like, I do feel like it is really in the this is how these writers wrote when they were writing.
Yeah. It is very like in vogue for the time and for like, well, and like they had nothing else to do.
Yeah. I mean, George Eliot, her name was Mary Ann Evans. She was born in 1819, right? So she's writing this in like the mid 1800s. And this is just like kind of how they wrote.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
it's a very different style.
Yeah, it is. But I'm gonna get there. I'm totally gonna get it done, and probably by the end of the month. I think I can get this done by the end of the month. I only got like 100 pages left.
Keep that book because it's pretty.
Absolutely. This is a gorgeous book.
No,
it's really beautiful, and the pages are those like really great, like heavy
paper pages
with the texture on the side. So definitely.
Yeah. Well, you kind of bought it because it was pretty, but you also require yourself to read any books that you keep, like that you're going to keep.
Yes.
So
that is true. It'll go under my classic shelf, you know, with my like my classic book stack I did earlier this week. So that's what I've got. That's what I got for tonight.
I have one left.
Okay.
Coming back to some of the best post-apocalyptic literature of all time, as far as I'm concerned. But Damien Duffy and John Jennings adapted Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower to a graphic novel. And I am about a little over halfway through, because a graphic novel I will read usually in 1 to 2 sittings.
Sure.
That's a pretty typical. I mean, they can be like this big, which they can be that big, or they can be this big, or they can be the little tiny short one.
Yeah.
This one I have already like set down. I started it 2 days ago because so I love this book, Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. It speaks to me on a soul level, which Hattie and I have been talking about a lot lately. But one of the premises of her book particularly, and her character in this book, is that this is how it goes. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you, and the only lasting truth is change. God is change. And when I read it for the very first time, 5, 6, 7 years ago now, it's been a while, it was like, it hit me in the gut. And it continues to, in like a kind of this kind of recurring sort of thing for me. But it is a very traumatic book, or it's a traumatic story. Yeah. That's what the story itself, what the character is going through is very traumatic. It's a lot of trauma, a lot of violence. It's set in near future. Actually, it starts in 2024. So like that's the first year of this, and I was like, okay, that's really close. Like July of 2024 is like really close. Yeah. And it is really close. Like what is happening in it and how it happens, and and this was written I think the original was written like the 70s, early 80s maybe. I'd have to look it up for sure, but at the time, the political the presidential candidate, their slogan was "Make America Great Again." Octavia Butler in the 70s.
I forgot that. Yeah.
In the 70s or 80s, it's in that era, wrote that. Yeah. So anyway, there's a commentary there. Let's just put it. There's a commentary. So very close, but that also makes this really tough. And the artwork,
I bet it's phenomenal.
Stunning, but very detailed, very heavy artwork. Right. And so I was like, Hannah, you have to actually look at the artwork. Like if you're going to do this, if you're going to read this, if you're going to consume this piece of art, as both a book and literal paintings, you have to actually look at it. And so that has required a lot more time. Yeah. Then I was like, oh, this will be a really nice, in my head I had thought, when I picked it, I was like, oh, this will be a really nice way to like reread Parable of the Sower when I just want to reread the story, but I don't want to have the time to like
the big fat.
And I'm like, oh no, that was dumb.
How that worked out.
That's stupid, Hannah. Sometimes the thoughts that we think are not the right thoughts that you should be thinking. No. You didn't quite put all the pieces together, but it is a beautiful piece of work.
I'll bet it is.
And so far, it is, I mean, the choices in terms of dialogue and the pieces of her journal that they're keeping, and like it's been really well discerned in order to create the arc so far. And it's interesting to see it interpreted visually, right? Like these people in this place, and like so it's been really good. But yeah, it's like I was thinking, I'm like, I think this is gonna be the longest time I've ever taken to read a graphic novel, because it's just a lot denser. Like the art is dense, the meaning is dense, and there's just a lot of if you give it the space that it can have, it just takes a lot more work than
I could see that.
Than this book, which was really good. Which was really good.
Yeah, no, I believe you. Yeah, absolutely.
So
excellent.
I did have, because I'm finishing, so this is my last week, my sabbatical coming up here. I am. One more Sunday, and then I'm back to work on the 21st. I'm back on call. But I have 3 days at the end of this week that I'm going up to just take a couple days away, a couple nights away from the family and everything. And I have a couple of books on my reserve to read on that. And one is Ignacio Salone, Bread and Wine, which is about Italy's fascist state.
Okay.
Apparently, it's Italian. He's Italian.
Yeah.
And I read about this book in one of the magazines, one of those the G's magazines that I was reading during my retreat. So this was one of my retreat buys. Actually, they both were. But Dorothy Day, isn't it? She's the Catholic nun. Anyway, I think that's right. Now I feel like maybe I said it wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Dorothy Day. No, I might be wrong. Anyway, she was a Catholic nun here in the Twin Cities who created, who did a lot of really incredible work for the homeless and the hungry, and so she actually carried this book around with her, apparently, as like her kind of Bible. And I was like, I have never heard of this book, and I also that like makes me like sad for myself and for my own history sometimes when it comes to like the Christian history that I know.
I get like that too.
When it's like, how do I not know about this book? So I am really looking forward to it. I believe it's a fiction book about, but it's about a dinner maybe. But it's a social commentary. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really looking forward to that.
Sounds good.
And then the other one, which if I start it and I'm really liking it, I think we might wait and add it for our book club for next year.
Yeah.
It's called A Darker Wilderness. Black Nature Writing from Soil to Stars. And it's a compilation of essays written by Black Americans about their artifacts and like what they do have and what they don't have, because history was, and like their artifacts that are kind of tied into nature and soil and like ecology and like the environmentalism. Like, and I was just looking at Pinterest, but I was looking at Pinterest like books. I was doing scrolling on books today, and I was looking at like some nature stuff and like environmental, and it is so white, and like, and it never clicked. That had just, but I've been reading a lot about not urban farmers, but just farmers and the agriculture of Black America. And anyway, and this book was one of the recommended books in that, and there was like this whole beautiful article about it, and about the different people who write and like the artifacts that they're writing about. One is like his grandfather's like hunting bag, you know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward to it, but I was thinking like I'm gonna give it a shot and read a couple, and then if it's like really good, if I'm really liking it, then I might put it on our to be read for, because we've liked essays before, so I thought they've been good.
We have done a couple books on our book club with essays, and they've done good. So people responded to them. Excellent.
So I'm really looking forward to having just a couple of days to just decompress and transition back to vocational Hannah.
Absolutely.
Be good.
Very good.
What are you looking for?
We can just wrap up. We're at like 8:40.
Oh gosh. Okay. But did you have anything that you're looking forward to picking up in the next two?
Not off the top of my head. I didn't have anything written down, so now I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I'm looking forward to. Honestly, like, and Hannah knows this is true, I'm just like looking forward to like September and October and November. It's gonna go into November too.
Until then,
and just kind of picking up all of this sort of just atmospheric fall gothic lit. It's having a moment with me right now. The last couple of years, and this year the moment started earlier in the season.
Started kind of early, but that's fine. You do you. I want to say this. We are over 300 followers on Instagram. We're at 302, and so to congratulate ourselves. Follow us on Instagram. Thank you very much. But look for it'll happen sometime this week, but there's going to be a post and a celebration of that, and an opportunity to have to get a free book. So more details will be coming, but also just thank you to everybody who has liked us and enjoy, you know, for whatever reason. Thank you for just joining us on the journey. And even if it's a full-on bystander, that's how we join people on journeys, is full-on bystanders. So we get it.
We totally get it. Absolutely.
And hope that you're enjoying whatever you're reading. So
happy reading.
Good. All right. Happy reading, everyone. Have a great night. And we'll be back on August.
Oh, yeah. 2 weeks from tonight. Whatever the date is, 2 weeks from tonight. We put it on the calendar. So September 28th, maybe?
Well, it's only August.
Oh, yeah. So maybe not September, but let's go with August. 2 weeks from tonight.
Patty is so ready for October. She would like August to be over.
She's like, can we just like skip straight to October?
We're done.
Because I have like 3 months of October. That would be awesome.
That's what you're doing.
That is basically what I do.
We're gonna go. But yes. So 2 weeks from tonight, whatever that
date is, we will be here chatting at you about our stuff.
All right. Thank you so much and have a great night,
Good night,
everyone. Happy reading.
Everybody.